Hey, what's up, everybody? Ralph here. So I came across this article on CNBC, and the title is "Millions of California Families to Get Inflation Relief Stimulus Checks of Up to $1,050. What we know about whether other states will follow." All right. So here we got California, in the process of giving inflation relief checks. Funny thing is that he's giving inflation relief checks, but this is going to be the same thing that's going to be causing the inflation. But I guess California is looking to do something different and help families, and other states are not sure if they want to actually follow suit. So let's go through this article. And before we get into that, so for those of you who don't understand how this inflation thing works, right? There's typically three things that can cause inflation, right? The first thing is like supply and demand, right? So when demand exceeds supply, prices go up. When supply exceeds demand, prices go down. So what drives demand is if you're going to give money to people, right? What's going to happen is they're going to take that money and they're going to make purchases, right? Everybody thinks that's a good thing. But let's say that everybody's going to take this money and everybody's going to buy a Rolex watch. Now, the way demand and supply works, if everybody takes that money and they go for that Rolex watch, that's going to increase the demand of that Rolex watch. And what's going to happen when the demand increases, so is the price of that Rolex watch. So that's what happens. So when you had the pandemic and, the government was giving out all these stimulus checks, people were taking that money and they were going to buy because they wanted to stimulate the economy. So people take that money, they make purchases, and that just creates demand for products and services, right? So like I said, when demand exceeds supply, that's how prices go up. Second thing, now another thing that increases, the inflation is the cost of producing a certain good, product or service, typically labor. So if let's say, to make a phone, it costs you about, $20 to make a phone, and I'm going to sell that, that same phone for $100. So I'm going to make an $80 profit. But let's say that person, that worker that produces that one phone says, I need a raise, all right? So instead of $20, they're going to I have to now pay, it costs $30 to make that phone. So now my profit margin decreases and I only get $70 on that profit. So what I'm going to do, that person's going to say, I got to make my profit. So then they're going to increase that product by $10. So instead of it costing 100, it's going to be 110. So I can make that 80. Right? So if it costs more to make that product or service, well, and you hear a lot of people saying, oh, we need the minimum wage to increase. Cool. But what happens is they're going to bring that cost on to you, the consumer. Right? So now they're going to say, all right, you want to increase, the wages of these workers? Then I'm just going to say, all right, it's going to cost more for the products and services, right? So the products and services cost more. Everything that you're buying, the food, gas, all these demand for this stuff increases. And there you have inflation. The third thing is supply, the supply chain. If I'm making a phone, I need to get these phones to the people. But if let's say instead of 100 phones, I can only get 20. Right? So 20 phones are going out. So then that demand for those phones increase, right? So if there's some disruption in the supply and I can only get a limited amount of phones, the demand for that product is going to increase. And thus, like I said, demand increases, therefore the price, right? So these typically are the three things that usually increase supply and demand. So in this situation, you see money given out. So once people get money, they're going to spend that money. This will drive up demand, causing more inflation. But let's go through the article. All right, so record high inflation and gas prices have many Americans hoping for financial relief. And in California, that's exactly about approximately 23 million residents stand to get thanks to the state's new budget deal, which is slated to give qualifying taxpayers new direct payments. Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom and Democratic legislators agreed on a $17 billion relief package that includes $9.5 billion in inflation relief funds. Those estimated 23 million California taxpayers will receive between $200 and $1,050 by early next year. Millions of Californians will be receiving up to $1,050 as part of a new middle-class tax rebate. All right. So who's going to qualify for this, right? Those with up to $75,000 in income, or $150 if you're married, filing jointly will receive up to $350 per tax filer, plus $350 if they have one or more dependent. Thus, joint filers will at least one dependent stand to receive highest possible sum payment. California flyers with incomes above that first tier, but less than $125 in income if single, of $250,000 if married, filing jointly may receive $250 per filer plus another $250 if they have at least one dependent. Those with incomes above that second tier but below another set of thresholds, individuals with less than 250 in income or $500,000 if filing jointly may receive $200 per filer plus another 200, right? So obviously they have certain ranges for people that, are going to receive this income. If you make a certain level of income, you're going to receive a certain amount. So obviously, for a lot of people, there's going to be people that are struggling financially, especially in California, because if you make $75,000 in California, that's nothing. Even if you make six figures, 100,000, that's typically nothing as well. Like, depending on which state you are, you would think, oh man, 100,000 is a lot, but in California, that's typically not enough to feed a family of 4 or 5, whatever, how many people in the household. So obviously you're gonna need a little bit more than that. But clearly for these people, it's those that clearly struggling financially and need some assistance, these people will qualify. But you would think this is supposed to help them, and of course people are going to take the money. And if you give people free money, they're going to take it. But in essence, they don't understand in the long run it's going to hurt them. Right? They say they need these inflation relief funds, but in essence, the money that they're receiving is going to cause more inflation, which is going to cause more pain. And that's what people don't understand, that the government, when they're giving you money, it's not to help you. It's that they want you to be dependent on them. Right? That's the goal. They want you to be dependent on them. So they say, hey, we're going to give you some money. It's because we know you're struggling. And they're like, oh, thank you. But in reality, they want you to keep coming back. They want you to keep voting them in. They want you to keep depending on them. Right? So now let's see, other states follow? So what we know about whether other states will follow. Other states such as Maine, New Jersey, and New Mexico have also made efforts to provide direct relief payments to residents, according to O'Neill. Moreover, many states are in talks of implementing gas tax holidays, and some have already temporarily suspended those levies. Sending direct checks is a better way of acknowledging that people are struggling in a different way. So this is all they want. They just want to send checks because they want you to acknowledge that we're helping you, that we're trying to do something. But you're not helping people. Just giving people money is not helping them. It's just going to make the problem worse, right? Because in the end, there's only so much money you can give until you run out of money, and then the people left holding the bag are those struggling, and that's what's going to happen. But the Golden States move is unlikely to inspire other states to follow, at least for now. One reason for that is most states are done with legislative sessions for the year. California's payments will set a new standard because of the large size of the credit, O'Neill said. California has more flexibility to send these kinds of payments because its budget is one of the largest in dollar terms, and they have the biggest surplus on record of any state. They have a highly progressive tax code that is bringing in a lot of revenue from profitable corporations and wealthy individuals that are doing their best. They're doing the best in the economy right now. So and that's how it works, right? Like I said, it says they have a highly progressive tax code that is bringing in a lot of revenue from profitable organizations, corporations, and wealthy individuals that are doing their best in the economy right now. So what they do is, obviously, government doesn't make any money. The way they're able to do this is they take from other people, right? They take from corporations, people that have money, and use that to help, fund their social programs. Now, whether you agree with it or not, it gets to a point where you can only take so much money, right? And people get tired of all right, you're taxing me so much, because taxes always have to increase, and that's the way it works, right? They say, okay, you know what? We gotta create a budget so we can help, these people over here because they're struggling financially. But the thing is, as you add more people to these programs, the only thing you can do is increase more taxes, and it gets to the point where people say, yo, I'm tired of paying all these taxes because it makes no sense. Right? It makes no sense. But, obviously the people that live there and these corporations or these wealthy people that live there, they're cool with it, right? Until they're not, So yeah, so like for me, when I'm looking at this, I don't see it as a way to long-term help solve people's problems, because if you're going to be someone that's just going to be dependent on people and depend on the government, it gets to a point where eventually they run out of money, and then there's no one else to depend on but yourself, and you will be left holding the bag, right? And I hope a lot of these states don't follow, but I'm sure there'll be some. But clearly California, they're one of the fifth largest economy in the world, and they generate a lot of revenue, but it gets to a point where you can only give so much money to people, man. Like it's for me, I'm not a person that's like, oh, I'll take government money in forms of like stimulus checks, because I don't want to have that mentality of depending on the government, you know, because I know in the end, in the long run, it's not going to help me reach my financial goals. And yes, I understand people are struggling, but if you're someone that's just relying on the government in the long run, it's not going to help you. I mean, for now, you're like, oh, you help pay some bills and it gets you maybe for the next month, but then the following month after that, what are you going to do? You're going to ask for the government some more money, and that's what they want. They want you dependent, and you never want to have that mentality, right? So that's all I got for you guys today. If you got any comments or questions, make sure to leave a comment down below. Hit the like button, share, and please do not forget to subscribe, right? So you guys take care and have a good one. Later.